Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. My twin male's parents passed away when I was 5 and I had no relatives willing to care for me. So I had to move to an orphanage and spend my life there for 10 years. Things changed after a month after my 15th birthday. I was finally considered for fostering by 2 people that would eventually become my foster parents. Mid-40s, male and female. I was sent to their location, and instead of a warm welcome to the home, they asked me if I knew how to do chores, how to care for young children, how to cook, how to clean the toilet, how to make my bed, how to do the laundry, and anything else related to housework. These questions were the first thing they asked. I didn't mind these questions if they were later on in the line of questioning to inquire about the skills that I learned. But not only were these the first questions they asked, they didn't bother to ask me about my history or my preferences or anything like that. It struck me as odd, but I didn't question it. I made a rationalization that maybe they were just trying to see what I was taught in the orphanage. I said yes to all these questions, and after a while of some chit-chat, they threw me into doing chores soon after. Now, I was still grateful. I was finally settling into a new home and a new life. I was told by my foster parents that they had other small children that needed to be cared for, and so it was my responsibility to care for them. There were 2 of them, not going to give names but in ascending order of each age. They were 4 male and 6 female. Again, I didn't think much of it, but the thing is, my foster parents would never be around to help me with my so-called responsibilities. They'd give me a list of chores to do, including housework, cleaning the car, groceries, etc. They would never help me with any of these and just told me to be grateful for having a roof over my head when I asked if I could at least get some payment. Now, I had no problems with the kids, they weren't that bad to handle, but I never received any kindness from my new foster parents. They were cold and distant, and whenever I had a problem, they would just tell me I should be grateful for what I have. They even said I was privileged to even be alive right now. I finally told them that I had nothing to be grateful for. I was a slave in their household. They threw a fit and called me horrible names. Few weeks after that incident was my 18th birthday. I was legally allowed to move out. I had a friend from my school whose parents had an apartment block for rent, since they moved out of it years ago. They were willing to hold off rent payments for a few months since they were sympathetic towards me as they knew my story. I had a part-time job, so I could afford the payments with their generous offers. When I told my foster parents that I'd be moving out, they threw a fit. Why would I move out of such a loving environment? But I insisted. They then hid my wallet, but I got it back. Then they tried to guilt-trip me by saying my foster siblings would miss me. Then they threatened to put me back into the orphanage, but they weren't even legally allowed to do that anymore as I was already 18. I finally managed to leave them. I wanted to move to my apartment, but then I was detained by police for theft. Apparently, my foster reported me for stealing their jewelry. I did no such thing, but I spent a few days in confinement until I was let go for lack of evidence. For the past 2 years, I've worked odd jobs and I've tried to save as much as I could. I've also headed into a deep depression thinking of the life I could have had if I had my parents. So things haven't been good, but then about a week ago, my foster dad reached out to me. Turns out foster mom was arrested for thieving. How ironic. And is set to be released on bail, but they haven't been able to find the bail money. He then asked me if I could come up with that amount. I straight up said no and hung up. But since then, he has been sending me messages calling me ungrateful and that as their parents, I should contribute whatever I can so they won't have to experience such hardship. He has also said that if I don't pay and he takes it out of their kids' educational fund, then I'm single-handedly responsible for ruining 2 promising kids' futures. I've since been in bed and I don't even have any energy to drag myself out of bed. I feel so awful for not wanting to help out. I know I'm being naive too, but I can't help this feeling. Update. Well, my foster dad didn't pay the bail. It was pretty hefty too. I forgot to mention, around $5,000. So now my foster mom is in jail. He has been since blaming me for not helping them out in their time of need and said I should never call them mother or father. I messaged him back that I never in fact did to begin with. This is just a quick update. Thanks everybody for the help. Your foster dad is a terrible person for guilt-tripping you and making you feel horrible, OP. You deserve way better than them, and I know eventually you will find the love that they couldn't give you, even if it comes in a different form. You owe them nothing. They, however, owe you a lot for taking your childhood away from you and for turning you into a nanny when you were just a kid. They gave you no love, but instead they used you and told you to be grateful for the bare minimum. Please cut your foster parents out of your life. If possible, keep contact with your foster siblings if you can. Good luck, OP. I wish you well. Story 2. I live in a house with 3 other people. The guy roommate moved out here to become a famous musician, DJ. To me, he's very entitled and privileged. His parents pay for everything and he doesn't have a real job. He's always home and always singing, humming or playing guitar. He never asked if he could record his album in his room or if he could conduct music lessons in his room or our living room. He just tells you it's happening. Our landlord's sister lives in the house with us in the largest room that connects to the living room. He usually has his music lessons in the living room and would wake her up. She wouldn't say anything, she's really sweet, but would go out of her room and start getting ready for her day. He told her recently that when he has music lessons that she cannot come out of her room. She either has to stay in there or be out by the time his students get there. He said it was too awkward to have her come out during his lesson. Furthermore, he has quite a large speaker set up in his room where his bass rattles my walls. He often has low music playing until midnight on, but the bass would make it sound like someone was knocking on my wall. He also likes to sing late at night. I work from home and enjoy peace and quiet. Sometimes I play my music, but it's hardly ever loud until recently, when I started conducting sound wars against him. Today he's having his music lessons in his room and I'm effing livid. I don't want to hear him day in and day out. Mind you, I'm rarely at this house anyway, because my boyfriend lives alone and I'm sick of always hearing this guy. This roommate and I got into a fight over a week ago, when he asked if he could start recording his album 2 hours a day. I politely asked if he could wait until I got off work at 5 p.m. And he said no because everyone else gets home from work and he needs peace and quiet to record. I asked if he could add a lot more soundproofing to his room and he flatly said no. He told me because my work schedule is from 11 to 8 p.m. that I take up too much of the day with my quiet. I told him I cannot control my schedule, but he can. I bought a soundproofing door thing, but it doesn't help, and I don't think I should have to shell out on soundproofing foam when he's the one making noise. I don't know if this is truly blind rage at this point, so please give me your honest opinions. You're not the a-hole, OP, but your roommate is. He sounds like an a-hole and an entitled jerk. I think he doesn't understand how being a roommate works. How could he tell the landlord's sister when she could and could not come out of her room? I can't believe she didn't give him a piece of her mind when he said that. I love the fact that you're not putting up with any of his bullshit. People like him need to be told that they're a shitty person just so they're aware. I think you should talk to the landlord about his behavior and how you feel about it. He could end up moving out or you could. Now for some comments. You're not the a-hole. I would purposely walk around during his music lesson, being as loud and obnoxious as possible, if someone had the nerve to tell me when I can and can't leave my own damn room. Sounds like one of you needs to find a new place to live. It shouldn't have to be you, but it might be the path of least resistance. He's definitely the a-hole in this situation, but you have to decide whether you want to be right or be happy, because it doesn't sound like both are going to be possible here. Do you all have separate leases or is he subletting? I would go directly to your landlord and complain. Your roommate needs to find a space to teach his lessons and record his album. Some music shops will let you rent a room, and the only place he's going to get a total peace and quiet is if he records in a studio. You shouldn't have to explain that you do not want strangers coming in and out of your home. Tell your landlord that this is not a commercial space and you are not comfortable with it being used as one. You are free to come and go as you please and he will have to deal with it. I would call in a complaint to your landline anytime he has a student or is trying to record his album. Hopefully the landlord will agree and do something. If not, I would consider breaking the lease. Story 3. So, where we live, you get one spot with your apartment number located on it. Then if you have any other vehicles, you have to park in a visitor spot. It's first come, first serve for the visitor spots, but they never fill up. Sorry for the shit description. I'm really trying here. Where I live, the apartments follow a drive that's shaped like a square U. We live at the bottom of the U. The majority of the apartments surround the outside of the U, with a block filling the inside. The road is small and barely allows for two cars to squeeze by each other. When you park in our part of the U, you face the apartments, with little room behind your car for two cars to be able to drive by. The situation is that someone has started to park directly behind our designated spot. Their car is being parked horizontally along the base of the U, up against the inside block of apartments, making the available driving space even smaller, so only one car can get by at a time now. They aren't taking anyone's space, but they aren't parking in an actual spot. The space they are parking in is actually on a path for residents to drive on. They don't live here, but it's a recurring problem. They are visiting someone. Sometimes they stay the night, sometimes it's just for a couple of hours. My main problems are they're taking up the driving space, raising the likelihood of our car being scrapped. And I almost reversed into their car trying to leave our place because I wasn't expecting it. I mean, it's no excuse really. I saw the car, thought to myself, they're here again, great. Then totally spaced out when I reversed. It was pure luck that I didn't hit them. They're probably saving themselves all of 40 feet of walking if they could just park in a visitor spot like they should be doing. At first, I made excuses like, maybe they have difficulty walking. Maybe they're scared of the walk as there aren't any lights in the visitor spots areas. Stuff like that. But then I finally saw who was parking there. It's a young man copying the kind of rapper looks. Not that it matters, but you know, the style, saggy pants, chains, that kind of stuff. And the only problem he seems to have walking is caused by saggy pants. We made eye contact as I was trying to pull into my spot and maybe it's just me projecting here. He definitely looked like he knew he shouldn't be parking there. He rushed into his car, then sped out of the place. Another a-hole move on his part. He could have easily hit someone going around the blind corner. I'm tired of it. Thinking of leaving a note asking him to stop, and if he doesn't, then call the tow place. Would I be an a-hole or should I just let it go? Now for some comments. You would be justified in calling the tow company, but getting towed sucks really hard. So I would prefer to give the guy a chance to correct his ways. Skip the fake letter and write a quick note, unless you're just dying to see him get towed. Leave an anonymous note first. Say, hey, park in the designated spot or you'll get towed. If it happens again, make good on your promise. Simple as that, really. I would say it would be an a-hole move if you tow right away. At least give them a chance to correct it if you've not talked to them. Someone called the tow on my car once and it was awful. We had designated spots as well, which I always obeyed. I let the neighbor borrow the car once to take her kid to school because the kid missed the bus. Unbeknownst to me, she parked in someone else's spot. When she came back and in the space of about 2 hours, someone had the car towed. I was really poor at the time and I ended up having to hawk my grandma's violin that she had given me when I was a kid to get the money to be able to get my car out of tow. It sucked really bad and I continued to be poor, so I never was able to get the violin back. Try talking to the guy at least once before towing him maybe. It sounds like he's much different to my situation, but you never know. And he may end up being a decent guy who stops parking there if you talk with him. If he continues to do it, then heck yeah, tow his car or get management involved. Even if the management company is off-site, they should be able to help in some fashion.